I have something to tell you. This may be a source of concern for you. The wisest men walk on the right side. Today there are people who can feel the atmosphere. Immediately those who predict events in advance this happens. Those who, in a certain way and intuitively, I don't know when something could go wrong, I didn't know. By developing these skills in school, in the same way that a scar is formed webs, slow and painful, because it was inevitable, they didn't realize it led to. They are endowed with a rare form of intelligence. They were only told that people were concerned. Sensitive, indeed hypersensitive. Therefore, if you ever had the feeling that your brain works in a certain way, it's difficult to explain, as it is always being researched and discussed, always. There are 3 stages of progress in speech. This may very well concern you. For what do you know? Now I'll explain it to you. Perhaps this is the first time. When will all this finally make sense? Subscribe to one, and people will read it. The degree of precision is almost unfair in a style that goes beyond cold reading or a theatrical artifice. It is more subtle than there. Someone enters, and before they open their mouths, and he has already recorded something. With a small instrument. The look, the smile a little forced, the way they sit, shoulders apart different from last week. That's usually true, but not always, and that's enough. This sometimes worries people. You too. That's how things are. This is already happening, while the children are growing up. In the emotional environment unpredictable, like a parent whose mind can change. The brain changes suddenly and without warning and adapts itself. Therefore, this fits perfectly with similar stimuli. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. And while initially it was a survival mechanism, it is not easily resolved. It is resolved. With you in every room, every report, every afternoon of work, it is surprisingly heavy. The result is the ability to read is almost involuntary. Others. The second signature, I always have been. I understood things emotionally before you did. You can explain it with reason. You knew. The friendship vanished before anything more could arise. Is there any definitive proof? I felt a change. Report before the interview had happened. And if you try to explain it, send it to someone. In fact, it couldn't be done. I simply felt it. That's right, and that's what happened. There's a reason for this. That is why they are painful experiences. It is treatable, especially in early cases. Just someone who is different from normal in the brain. Memories. Research in the field of psychological trauma. Neuroscience has consistently demonstrated the body encodes affective experience, a method that transcends verbal consciousness. The brain, and that is partly the cause of trauma. The reactions can seem very physical, direct, and without language barriers. That's all. This same coding represents your nervous system. You are aware of your prefrontal cortex. He hasn't achieved it yet. He feels it. Answer before you defend your opinion. What? This may seem illogical at first glance, but another kind of knowledge. The third sign, you have excellent tolerance towards moral complexity and ambiguity. Most of it people want a solution. They want it. The end is undoubted. The wickedness is undeniable. Finally, a complete answer. And you too. I understand that, but deep down, you do too. Gradually, you must make peace with the truth. Most things in life don't happen that way. You are right. People fight among themselves, it is true, who can be loved and hurt at the same time. I confess that there seem to be 2 things. Both possibilities are conceivable. Perhaps. We used to call this apathy or irony. Growing up in the world where reality was complex, for example, who should have protected you? I also frighten you and force you into a certain kind of situation. Cognitive development is so simple. In a stable environment, results are often not achieved. I learned long ago that the world doesn't. Arrange them carefully. Philosopher Nassim Taleb wrote about how vulnerable systems collapse under the weight in times of uncertainty. Strong people adapt. Behold your mind, without form. So he went up to the next level. Type 2. It's the 4th card you're testing. Empathy, in the way that sometimes it's truly devastating. It's not like that. There he says correctly, because it's perfect, it's like a place. Another person's pain is transferred into your body, where the story of an unknown person is projected onto the screen. This allows your breasts to perform a specific function. And sometimes, we can't determine where. Your feelings disappear, and with them, the other person's too. It begins. In psychology, this is described as follows: contagion of emotions, unconscious to change the state of mind of others. And meanwhile, everyone suffers the same. In a way, people suffering from psychological trauma suffer from this too. With data, testing is performed at a much higher level. Intense. The same supreme harmony. This is what distinguishes you as a reader. This also means that you are absorbing what you are. Read this. It deserves to be mentioned here, because this video will be useful to you. It would be unfair if the situation were not so dire that these same people capabilities are associated with potential dangers. The pattern recognition process can sometimes fail. Situations that can be perceived as threats, neutral, and the conflict changes into innocent silence. Empathy in too much responsibility, and this leaves you with a burden that it never belongs to you. It is continuous digitalization. It's really tiring. It's not inconvenient. It is within you, but it is real. You are the fifth sign. Self-sabotage on the edge of a precipice. This is good. This is annoying. Speak openly. You work to achieve something, a relationship, something, an opportunity, an example of your life. This is exactly what you wanted. Then, in a certain place, near if that happens, something is going on. You stop it. You are choosing a fight that you would not have fought otherwise. This must be done, and you must convince yourself of this. It would have collapsed in any case. Leave before anyone is left behind. Psychologists sometimes call it that. Self-destructive behaviors, rooted in what is called the tolerance zone, the frequency range in which your nervous system operates. The system can function without deviation from the function. This may seem paradoxical, but if safety and stability are not the most important things, the foundations of your initial environment, some may interpret security as a threat. It is clear that they do not want to fail, but peace in your memory has always been peace. Before anything is broken, be aware of it. In my opinion, it is one of the best, deep and confusing things which a person can do by reinterpreting the situation. Habit as a learned, formed response for the prior conditions, and not in a definite way. False. Sixth sign, think about the cause. After all, it usually is. From a philosophical point of view, that's how it is, but what is reality? Something involuntary, I mean. It cannot be extinguished. Why? Is that what they say? Why? Does this seem familiar to you? Why am I acting this way? What will be the reaction? What exactly are you saying? You are simply describing what is going on in your mind. Experience at the highest level of analysis. People resort to solving problems related to work. This is also a well-documented event for the initial period. Adversity. Investigation into what? Psychologists call this condition post-traumatic stress disorder. Growth, true perception, and the growth of emotions that can follow these difficulties include, among other things, an increase in existential pain, a deeper and more accurate inner life, concrete and measurable results. Viktor Frankl. He described something similar, the need to find meaning in pain. The mind is forced to understand. Something that seems small is transformed into something very beautiful. Seeking meaning. No, I always find it, but it's hard to look for. It changes you. You're 7 years old again for a moment, in every way. It possesses an almost exhaustive self-awareness, but this conscience will not hinder you. Sometimes, you know your habits. We can give it a name and trace its origin. Explain it to a therapist or someone you trust. Friend of absolute transparency, I thank you. Be careful while you do that. That's all. There is a gap between knowledge and change. One of the most destructive things happens in silence. About the amazing news. Because consciousness is not the solution. It is a beginning, a true beginning, but the brain innovations are not achieved through analysis alone. Renewals through frequent new experiences enough times in such a slow body, he learns from it. But that doesn't mean information has been lost. This means I did something very difficult for him. For a long time, with very few people who I understood what he really was like. Maybe now, after watching just one video, things are starting to change. Just one last thing, and this is true only if we experience certain aspects of it. Strangely familiar. Understandable. These forms are truly exceptional. Changing that is another matter. Clearly, and most people don't. I know where to start. So I posted the link. Something in the description and proven which, I think, many of you will agree with. That seems valuable to me. The collection is simple and clear manuals, intended for concrete help for similar situations, thinking too much, controlling emotions, focus your mind, and develop better daily habits. During the day, nothing tiring, just practical steps that you can actually follow every day. especially when your thoughts tend to let us always be one step ahead, like in the good old days. We will discuss this topic in this video. If so, it seems you need something, at least I hope so. Look,